Hi, welcome to Virtual CB1A. This is Ma'am Rena, and for this video discussion, we are already in the next section, proving triangles are congruent using the SSS and SAS congruence postulates. So in the previous lesson, we needed 6 pairs of corresponding parts, that is 3 sides that are congruent and 3 angles that are congruent, to conclude that 2 triangles are congruent, right? Ang dami-dami nating hinahanap na corresponding angles at corresponding sides. But actually, in some cases, you only need 3 elements. So, pwedeng 3 sides o kaya 2 sides and 1 included angles. So, first, let's talk about the side-side-side congruence postulate. So, if 3 sides of one triangle are congruent to 3 sides of a second triangle, then the 2 triangles are congruent. So, mas madali to compared with our approach in the previous lesson na 6 yung hinahanap. So, dito kung meron kang 3 sides that are congruent, you can already assume that the 2 triangles are congruent. Okay? So, now, let's try to apply the SSS congruence postulate in this pair of triangles. So, we have to prove that triangle PQW is congruent to the triangle TSW. So, the marks on the diagram are already given. So, we have a clear idea on what sides are congruent. So, paragraph proof yung ginamit niya dito. Given are segment PQ is congruent to segment TS, segment PW is congruent to segment TW, and segment QW is congruent to segment SW. So, by the SSS congruent postulates, we know that PQW is congruent to triangle TSW. Okay? So, this time, let's go to ayan, meron pala tayo ditong isang activity, pero hindi ko na to i-demo. You can always go back to this part of the video, and also you can look it up on our material, yung naka-PDF na book. And if you have the time and energy, pwede nyo i-follow tong steps na to. Marami na naman tayong ginawang construction videos in the past, so may idea na kayo kung paano to ginagawa. Pa-follow nyo lang yung mga dati nating inaral. Tsaka yung mga steps dito. Hindi kayo maliligaw. Now, the SSS congruence postulate is a shortcut for proving 2 triangles are congruent without using all 6 pairs of corresponding parts. Meron pa tayong isang shortcut, and that is the side angle side congruence postulate. But we have to be very specific with the angle. As you will notice here, the angle is between the 2 side. So, side, angle, side. Ibig sabihin, yung angle na binuo ng 2 sides that are given to you, yun lang yung pwede mong gamitin. So here, the given sides are PQ and QS. And the included angle, or the angle in between PQ and QS, is angle Q. So dito, if the congruent sides are WX and YX, yun yung mga corresponding with PQ and SQ, then the angle that should be congruent to Q is X. Okay? So, if 2 sides and the included angle of one triangle are congruent to 2 sides and the included angle of the second triangle, then the 2 triangles are congruent. So, question, ma'am, paano po kung ang given ay ito? Dito sa isa. Angle P. Tapos, dito po sa kabila, ang given ay si angle X pa rin. Will it be a good example ng side angle side congruence postulate? So, no. Kasi ang nakalagay dito sa definition natin, it should be an included angle. So, it should be an angle in between your corresponding sides. Okay? So dito, if side PQ is congruent to side WX and angle Q is congruent to angle X and angle QS is congruent to angle ano ba to? Side QS is congruent to side XY, then PQS is congruent to WXY. So hindi po pwede na non-corresponding yung dalawang angles na given sa'yo. Dapat corresponding angles din siya. Okay? Okay, so let's apply the Sas Congruence Postulate in this example. We have to prove that triangle AEB is congruent to triangle DEC. Hindi ko matandaan kung anong ginamit sa book, kung paragraph or two-column. Shortcut na lang tayo. Mag two-column proof tayo. So we have here the statements. And here, we have the reasons. So, unahin natin yung unang element, side. Pili tayo ng isang side. So, we have side AE is congruent to side DE. Ano yung reason natin? Given sa figure, syempre. Number 2, we have angle. Ano yung mga congruent na angle? Kaya, teka, lagay pala natin dito yung isa pang given before tayo maghanap ng included na angle. So, isa pang given, we have side BC. Ayaw niya sumulat. Ayun, sumusulat na siya. Side BE is congruent to side CE. Okay. Again, given lang din siya. Now, let's look at the included angle. Ayan, yung A sa gitna. So, na-identify mo na yung dalawang congruent na sides mo. Doon naman tayo sa congruent na angle. So, ang between ng AE at BE ay C1. At ang in-between ng CE at ED ay C2. So, we have to prove that angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. Ano yung pwede nating maging reason? So, meron tayong idea that vertical angles are congruent because of the vertical angles theorem. Okay? So, since meron na tayong S, A, S, so number 3, triangle AEB is congruent to triangle DEC through the Sas Congruence Postulate. Okay? O, di ba ang iksi lang nito? Mas maiksi siya kaysa dun sa ginagawa natin before. Okay. Ay, meron pa. Isa. So, dito, choosing which congruent postulate to use. Decide whether enough information is given in the diagram to prove that PQR and PSR are congruent. If there is enough information, state the congruence postulate that you would use. Actually, meron akong na-miscalculate before. Hindi ko naisingit doon sa discussion natin before. So, itong before ng proving triangles are congruent. Singit ko lang siya dito, Kasi kinot ko yung dapat gagawin ko tong part 2. Tapos na-realize ko, isang page lang yung i-discuss ko. So, this is a continuation, supposedly, of congruence and triangles topic. So, dito, we have 3 theorems for properties of congruent triangles. We have the reflexive property of congruent triangles. So, every triangle is congruent to itself. So, say for example, you have triangle ABC. Triangle ABC is always congruent to triangle ABC. Same lang din to ng properties of equality. Next, triangle DEF is congruent to triangle DEF. Finally, we have triangle JKL is congruent to triangle JKL. Okay? So, for symmetric property of congruence, even if pagbaligtarin mo sila ng sides ng equality or sides ng congruence, congruent pa rin sila. So, triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF is the same as triangle DEF is congruent to triangle ABC. For transitive property of equality, ito lang yung lagi tayong may common element in between. So, if triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF and triangle DEF is congruent to triangle JKL, then yung ABC is congruent to JKL. Okay? Ayan. Diniscuss ko lang siya ng mabilis dito. Tapos balik na tayo dun sa example natin. Kasi gagamitin natin yung idea nitong properties of congruent triangles dito sa pagsasagot at pagpili ng congruence postulate na gagamitin. So here, we have to decide whether enough information is given in the diagram to prove that triangle PQR is congruent to triangle PSR. If there is enough information, state the congruence postulate. So let's decide. Let's look at the figure. We have two given sides. This is side 1. Yan, side 1. Meron tayo isang side. Okay. So, ang pagpipilian natin ay SSS at saka SAS. Meron tayong second side. Okay tayo doon. Ayan. Meron din naman tayo dito. How about the third element? Do we have a congruent pair of angles? Wala. But do we have a pair of congruent third side? Yes. So, meron tayong dalawang triangle dito. PQR. Ito. Tapos yung kabila, ito. Ano yung third part na congruent sa kanila? Okay. So, ang third part na congruent sa kanila ay ito. Okay. Paano siya naging congruent? So, gawa tayo ng proof dito. Two column na lang para mabilis. So, let's have here the statements. And then here are the reasons. So, statement 1, we have segment QR is congruent to segment RS and segment PQ is congruent to segment PS. Ano yung reason natin? Given sila. Number 2, ano yung susunod nating reason? Meron tayong segment PR is congruent to segment PR. So, ano yung property na gagamitin natin dito? So, medyo na-recall na natin kanina. Though triangles yung pinag-uusapan natin dun sa binalikan kong tatlong theorem kanina. So, dito naman, hindi triangles, pero segment. Pero same pa rin. We are going to adopt the reflexive property of equality, or in this case, congruence. So, reflexive property of congruence. An element is always congruent to itself. Number 3, meron na tayong tatlong side. Side 1, side 2, side 3. Meron tayong tatlong corresponding sides. Finally, triangle PQR. Ito na yung conclusion natin. PQR is congruent to triangle PSR through the SSS congruence postulate. Okay? Okay. Let's continue to the next one. Yan. This is example number 4. Proving triangles are congruent pa rin, but application na to sa architecture. So, you are designing a window shown in the photo. You want to make triangle DRA. Meron tayong representation dito nung window sa isang side. So, ito si DRA. Congruent to triangle DRG. You design the window so that DR is perpendicular to AG. Okay. And RA is congruent to RG. Can you conclude that DRA is congruent to DRG? And how? Okay. So, ano yung pwede nating maging solution dito? Gawa ulit tayo ng two-column proof. Tapos mag-decide tayo kung ano yung gagamitin natin na elements. So, let's have the statements on one side and the reasons on the other side. Start tayo with the given. Ano yung given? You design the window so that DR is perpendicular to AG. If DR is perpendicular to AG, you will be creating two angles that are congruent. They are angle ARD and angle GRD. They are both 90 degrees. That is one element. So, bakit yun ang inuna ko? Parang obvious na kaagad that SAS yung gagamitin natin. Okay? Okay. So, start tayo sa isang side. May isa tayong given that RA is congruent to RG. This is given. Number 2, angle ARD is congruent to angle GRD. Pwede ditong definition of perpendicular lines. Pwede rin naman na ang i-reason nyo ay definition ng linear pair. So, since AG is a line and DR is a perpendicular bisector, it divided AG into two congruent angles, ARD and GRD, which are both equal to 90 degrees. Yan. Meron na tayong isang side. Meron na tayong isang angle. Punta tayo sa third side. We have DR. Dapat kasi included, di ba? So, kung ang angle na included mo ay si ARD, di dapat ang gagamitin mo si DR. Wala kang choice. So, we have DR is congruent to DR. This is the third side. Again, this is because of the reflexive property of equality, or in this case, congruence. Okay, dito na tayo sa conclusion. So, sa conclusion natin, triangle DRA is congruent to triangle DRG through the SAS congruence postulate. Okay? Okay. Last na ba to? Yes, last na yun. Okay, last na to. We have example 6. Congruent triangles in a coordinate plane. So we have to use the Sss Congruence Postulate to show that the two triangles ABC and FGH are congruent. Okay. Defined na naman. SSS. So all we have to do is to find the measurement of the sides for the first triangle and for the second triangle. So, ang pinakang gagamitin natin dito ay distance formula. What is the distance formula? So, the distance between the 2 points is equal to the square root of x sub 2 minus x sub 1 squared plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 squared. Okay, compute tayo. Unahin natin si segment AB. Si segment AB ay ano ang sukat? So, decide tayo. Ito yung gamitin nating x sub 2, y sub 2. Ito yung x sub 1, y sub 1. So, we have negative 7 minus negative 7 squared plus 5 minus 0 squared. We have here 0 squared plus 5 squared. We have square root of 25. AB is equal to 5. Meron na tayong isang element. Dito tayo sa, lagay ko lang dito ha. This is for triangle ABC. Okay, computation to ng triangle ABC sides. Next na side, we have BC. So, BC is equal to the square root of negative 4 minus negative 7 squared plus 5 minus 0 squared. Compute tayo. Negative 4 plus 7 is 3. So, 3 squared plus 5 squared. Tama, di ba? Tama. We have 9 plus 25. We have here 34. Square root of 34. Okay. Next, dun tayo sa BC. Segment BC is equal to the square root of negative 4. Tapos na pala tayo sa BC. AC pala. AC. So, ito yung x sub 2. We have negative 7 minus negative 4 squared plus 5 minus 5 squared. We have here negative 3 squared plus 0. So, we have square root of 9, which is equal to 3. So, AC is equal to 3, BC is equal to 34, and AB is equal to 5. Check natin yung kabilang triangle. Drawing tayo ng division dito. Yan. So, this is for triangle FGH na. Unahin natin si, hindi ko alam kung sino yung mga segment na magkakasukat dito So, unahin natin si FG. Segment FG is equal to the square root of, ito yung FG, we have 6 minus 1 squared plus, ito yung ginamit kong x sub 2. Ito yung x sub 1. Siyempre, kapartner nito y sub 1, kapartner nito ay y sub 2. Okay? Baka malito kayo Next, we have 2 minus 2. So, we have here 5 squared plus 0. So we have square root of 25, which is equal to 5. So meron tayong FG, which is equal to 5. Ah, tama ako ng hula. Next, we have, may clue naman tayo eh. Oh, AB, FG, BC, GH. Tapos yung dalawang huli, AC, FH. Okay, so next we have BC. BC is, ba't BC? BC, ano nga itong kasunod? GH. GH. Yan. GH. Corresponding siya sa BC according dito sa clue natin na triangle. Dapat ito ay equal dito. GH. So, ito yung gamitin nating x sub 2 this time. Okay? Purahin na muna natin to. 6 minus 1 squared plus 5 minus 2 squared. We have 5 squared plus 3 squared. Again, we have 25 plus 9, which is equal to the square root of 34. Ayan, bibingo na tayo, isa na lang. So, kapag ka itong si FH ay congruent, kay AC, which is equal to 3. Ibig sabihin, the two triangles are congruent. So, we have, ito yung gamitin natin this time na x sub 1, y sub 1. Burahin muna natin yung marking natin dito. 6 minus 6 squared plus 5 minus 2 squared. We have 0 plus 3 squared. We have square root of 9, which is equal to 3. Yes. So, we can establish a correspondence between the sides. So, ano-ano yung mga corresponding sides? Lahat tayong space. So, gawa ako ng maliit lang na space dito. Just for us to show the corresponding sides. So, since, ipaparagraph ko na lang, since AB is congruent to FG, BC is congruent to GH, and AC is congruent to FH by Sss Congruence Postulate, triangle ABC is congruent to triangle FGH. Okay, so this is the end of our video discussion for today. Thank you very much for listening and see you next time. Bye!